Today we're going to review for the Unit 11 test on the Cold War of the 1950s, Chapter 28, Chapter 29. And we start off with an image of I Love Lucy, which is a really popular sitcom of the 1950s. Um, in going through the essay possibilities, infer from the reading in Unit 11 why people moved to the suburbs after World War II. Well, a lot of people moved to the suburbs after World War II because they had the opportunity to do so. Interstate highways had been built, and that made it an opportunity for them to live in one place and work in another. The Many of the GIs, men and women, had come back from World War II, and they'd gotten an education through the GI Bill. They didn't want, they went to college or vocational school or borrowed money to buy a house in the suburbs. Either way, they didn't want to live in their parents' basements anymore. They wanted to move out to a place where they could afford and raise their growing families. These kids were known as a cumulative group as the baby boomers. And so finding a place in the suburbs was often reasonably priced because, well, they had interstate highways. Okay, most people had cars and really cool cars too. And they had the opportunity to move to the suburbs because the suburbs had cheaper tax rates, and everything was new. People of their ages would be there. That would be kind of fun for them to raise their kids with lots of other people. It was expensive taxes in big cities, and so anyway, opportunity to move this to the suburbs. Those would be some reasons, and some would say this thing called white flight because of the crumbling inner city core. People had moved into the cities to work in large factory jobs, and this had created a diversity, and some people were very wary of that diversity. And so, anyway, that was a situation as well. The second one, B, show the who, what, where, why, when, and of the Red Scare. Well, lots of details about that you've already had because we've talked about the Red Scare already. But pretty simply, who? Joseph McCarthy. He's a guy who was a senator from Wisconsin, and get some uh, he wanted to get some notoriety. So that was really important to him, and in order to do so, he blamed people for being communists. He blamed lots of people. Celebrities were often blamed because they wielded some power in Hollywood and through social media, I guess you could say, television and movies and radio and that sort of thing. So Joseph McCarthy blamed them because he thought they had too much power over what people wore and what people did, etc. So anyway, Charlie Chaplin, J. Robert Oppenheimer, these are people that are, he developed the atomic bomb, Oppenheimer, by the way. Arthur Miller, he wrote The Crucible. Lillian Hellman, she's a well-known um, she wrote newspaper columns. Elder Hiss, who was a member of the State Department, who was accused of selling secrets to the Soviets, which eventually it was discovered that he really did. Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. Julius was um, his brother-in-law had worked at Los Alamos, and he did microfilm some plans for nuclear weapons and get them to Julius, and Julius gave them to a Soviet operative. Ethel knew about it, and she didn't do anything, so unfortunately, they were both put to death. Only time that we've had spies put together in peacetime. Um, Ring Lardner, he is the guy that wrote MASH, which stands for Mobile Army Surgical Hospital, and this is a show that was on TV for 11 years, but it's about the Korean War. Okay, so those are some of the people. We have the Hollywood 10 Hollywood directors, Bernard DeVoto, many others as well. Whittaker Chambers. Yeah. What is the Red Scare? It's their witch hunts based on communism, the suspicion of fear due to the Cold War fear spreading in the U.S. Many people lost their jobs and reputation. When it happened after World War II, but mainly from 50 to 54. Where? In Washington, D.C. Why? Joseph McCarthy wanted to show how cool he was. He wanted attention and fame. He sought to create a hysteria across the United States. Why are people afraid of communism? Well, they're kind of afraid of communism because they're afraid that they would lose their basic rights like freedom of speech, freedom of press, property ownership, the right to petition, a democracy. They felt that they were worried about nuclear war too. So anyway, these are the who, what, where, why, when of the Red Scare. The next one says to analyze the technological and societal changes that affected popular culture in the post World War II era in the 1950s, like in art and literature. We have a lot of things that could be mentioned, and in number 7 in the packet, which is due at the end of the day, May 11th, has some ideas on there. But pretty simply, we have people that are coming back from the war, and they are writing books, and they're writing radio shows and TV shows, etc., that are influencing popular culture. There are a lot of young people that are born, they don't serve in the war, or they're baby boomers, and they decide um, to be these beat poets where they question suburban conformity. Uh, and so anyway, they push back and write these kind of angst or anger ridden ideas about teenage life and how hard it is to conform to uh, uh, well, I guess values that people would think would be the common mainstream. Not that everyone and followed those, but yet teenagers they felt like they were prisoners of this once again suburban conformity. Rock and roll is a big part of the 1950s. That is for sure. This is a form of music that's it's really popular, and what parents are worried about is that the dancing, and then they're also worried that it's breaking down racial barriers and that, teenage kids, they don't care. They just want to have a good time, and that's great. But they uh, dance to this music, to perform this music, and it's across cultural lines. And this worries parents, people like Chuck Berry and Fats Domino, and of course Elvis Presley, Buddy Holly, Jerry Lee Lewis, Richie Valens. Yeah, there were a lot of African American performers. Elvis is partially Native American. He grew up in Mississippi. Let's see, teenagers. The term teenager was coined during the 1950s. We have Catcher in the Rye, with Holden Caulfield as being kind of a big hero. Mad Magazine, that was really popular. Um, and juvenile delinquency, unfortunately, and some antisocial behavior. Movies like Rebel Without a Cause were made. Big stars like Natalie Woods and James Dean and Sal Mineo. Um, they Some of the teenagers felt angst and isolation in suburban life. The Wild One with Marlon Brando was another really popular one that talked about motorcycle gangs. Yeah. So anyway, these are some things. Let's see. The next one. Oh yeah, drive-in movies. At the drive-in movies, they had a lot of interesting themes, but among those science fiction, because science fiction would be something that would portray the good guys and the bad guys, and of course the bad guys are the Russians, and they're the Martians or the evil invaders in science fiction, and then the good guys are, of course, the Earthlings or people of the U.S. So anyway, the would be some ideas too. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the Korean War, which is the next one. And in the Korean War, we have uh, we want to describe who the sides and the leaders. Well, after World War II, Japan was occupied by the United States, and then Japan had controlled Korea, so it was occupied. Korea was occupied by the Soviet Union in the north, and the south it was the United States. And let's see, of course, the Soviets had communism, and South did not. It had democracy. So anyway, in 1953, June 25th, North Korea invaded South Korea. The leader of North Korea was a guy named Kim Jong Un, or Kim Il Sung. Sorry, Kim Jong Un is the current one. Kim Song Il, and Kim Il Sung, I should say, was the leader. And then for South Korea, it was Syngman Rhee. Um, on June 27th, President Truman pledged U.S. support through the United Nations, calling North Korea an aggressor. The U.S. troops are led by Douglas MacArthur, who went in. He took troops from the Japan over into uh, South Korea, and pushed the North Koreans back to the border. Then the Chinese got involved, and for 3 years it was kind of back and forth seesaw fighting. And the fear of it is the domino theory, the idea that if the Soviets were communist, China was communist, then the domino theory is that South Korea would become communist and then lots of other countries. Okay, well, the war dragged on. MacArthur got fired because he threatened to drop nuclear bombs in China. So anyway, that led to him being fired by Truman, and that made Truman unpopular. So he didn't run for president in '52. Eisenhower won and promised to end the war in Korea. And Stalin died, so he wasn't lending weapons to the Koreans either. So anyway, that was the end of the Korean War, which there really isn't an end because it was just an armistice that was signed on July 27th, 1953. Korea is still split at the 38th parallel, so maybe that'll be something resolved in our lifetimes. All right, a GI Bill. Well, I think you did one of the things in the packet on that, but pretty simply gave to stop demobilization from being such a problem that it was after World War II. It kept GIs out of the workforce for a few years so that they could um, wouldn't clash with the people who are in jobs. Those people would really eventually retire. And so anyway, the GIs would fill in and they became the best educated populace that we've had in the nation. Had a lot of money for loans for farms and homes, loans for going to school, vocational school, all kinds of great things. Letter F, please explain the changes in the U.S. due to becoming a car culture. Well, we had marketing and advertising to sell cars that were bigger, faster, and sleeker. Ford modeled the first two-car household. Affluent customers jumped on suburbanization bandwagon. Cars were used for teenagers. They had drive-in movies. There's a lot of advertising on TV about cars. It led to fast food companies, the Interstate Highway Act. There was an increase in debt due to people buying on credit, but it decreased shipping by train, and it kind of hurt downtown areas. Right. Let's see. Next thing, television. Politicians had a chance to be on TV and show their personalities so you could see them. Sports shifted to the South and West. Brooklyn Dodgers moved to Los Angeles, and they're shown on television, so they had a national audience with commercials for TV. Sporting events were broadcasted live. Shows like Leave It to Beaver and I Love Lucy showed suburban and urban values. There were westerns, science fiction, spy, police shows. The civil rights movement was heavily impacted due to TV broadcasts. And then lastly, we want to mention about compare and contrast the anxieties of the 50s with those of 2020. Well, I got to say that some of the things that would be very similar would be in the 50s, we're worried about a virus called polio. In 2020, we're worried about coronavirus. So anyway, that would be a similarity in looking to find vaccines. And of course, Jonas Salk found in 1953 found a vaccine, and then Dr. Sabin in 57 an even better one. So that was good. And then 2020, we're still working on that coronavirus thing. Civil rights is something that was big in the 50s, and it still is in the present day. Nuclear fears, we still do have some concerns about that with North Korea. Definitely, these are concerns. We people still face isolation, whether they live in the suburbs or not. Teenagers, still issues that face teenagers with communication and music and social media. I think some differences would be that we definitely are not quite as worried about demobilization as we were at that point in time. We're not as worried about ducking and covering. We're not as worried about aliens and spies as they would have been in the 1950s. I don't think we're as worried about uh, the Cold War. Yeah, that would be a really big thing because pretty much the Cold War came to an end in 1990 with the Berlin Wall coming down and the Soviet Union breaking into various and sundry unions. So anyway, we have less fear about that. But we have different things today. More about pollution. We have other things that the United States are worried about today. But either way, there are some similarities, especially with um, the viruses and civil rights. Labor unrest would be big as well. Okay, thanks. I hope these things help you to review for the test that we'll have tomorrow on May 12th. All right, have a great day.